Here we go. So welcome everyone. Today is September 21st. This is the Brand Power Hour. This is my free community for brand builders where I host either workshops on branding or I invite powerhouses like Sherri to come in to talk about new topics. So today we're talking about leveling up your LinkedIn leads. LinkedIn is definitely a platform that I know that to focus a little bit more on and has sort of taken the back burner to Instagram and Facebook, but I see so much opportunity and potential. So selfishly, I am very excited to learn a little bit more about lead generation on LinkedIn. Good morning, Lori. So a little bit about Sherri. I think we met in a networking group. I cannot remember which one, but again, the power of connection. I think we were in a breakout room. We met. We had similar sort of, visions for our business, similar themes of things we work on. And then we had a one-on-one and then we decided we were going to collaborate. That's sort of how it happened. So she is here today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She supports service-based entrepreneurs to end the feast or famine cycle of getting clients and finally build a business that allows them to live their bucket list now. I love that. She believes it's possible to work when you want, where you want, with clients you love. In fact, Sherri is living proof, having sold her home, packed up her possessions to travel the world, taking her business with her. And she's never looked back, leveraging her Freedom Finder formula. You know I love a branded framework. Her clients build a business around the lifestyle they want and income it will take to achieve it. So today we're focusing on LinkedIn leads. We're going to be talking about how content can lead to leads, which can lead to connection calls, which can lead to possibly collaboration, kind of what we're doing today, or referral partner, or clients, which is what we want, right? So I am so excited to have you here speaking on this topic. Thank you so much for being here, Sherri. I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Awesome. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. And I have to say, I rarely do trainings on a specific marketing vehicle because my belief is that there are so many ways to market your business and that there are too many gurus out there that are telling you you have to do one thing to move your business forward. You have to do webinars, you have to do LinkedIn or whatever it might be. So, but having said that, I have found that LinkedIn is one of the most underrated marketing vehicles that are out there. And what I want to share with you today is how I'm using it to add 50 to 75 new connections to my LinkedIn community at each and every week and turning them into 5 to 7 connection calls each and every week. So does that sound like a good plan?
Definitely.
Cool. I love the knots. Okay. And I do want to make this interactive too. I love being in a small group because we can ask questions. So please, please feel free to just hop in and ask me a question if you need to. So as we talked about level up your LinkedIn leads, I would do want to acknowledge you for being here because Woody Allen said one of my favorite quotes, 80% of success is just showing up. So you're here, so you're clearly committed. And I want to thank you and honor you for that. As I mentioned, I do want you to use the chat. You can type in questions or just because it's a small group, just interrupt me. Just say, hey, Sherri, I have a question. If we do miss something or you think of something after the fact, don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can always reach me at wecare@resultspartner.com. That's my business name. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I'm not doing one of those long introductions, but I do think there are 3 things you need to know about me. The first thing is that I've been where you are. And I mean that wherever you are in your business. I've started and grown 3 businesses, taking one of them to over 7 figures. I've seen the good, the bad, the amazing and the ugly of being an entrepreneur. So, I love working with entrepreneurs and helping them to get to the place where they can live their bucket list now and take their business with them. As Malika did share, I am living what I teach. I travel as much as I possibly can. Pre-pandemic, I was traveling about 9 months of the year internationally, taking my business with me, and absolutely loved every minute of it. I do know that you can build a business that allows you to live that lifestyle that you want to live and do it in a way that also allows you to make the income that you want to make and make the impact that you want to make with your clients. I'm very honored that I've been able to help others build their dream businesses as well and help them build the business that fits into that lifestyle they want to live. So with that as background, let's dive in. So we're going to talk about LinkedIn today. So the first question that I want to answer is why LinkedIn? As I said at the beginning, there are so many ways that you can build your business, and none of them are wrong. In fact, there were very few of them that will not work if implemented strategically and if you don't give up too soon. Because that's one of the things that people do a lot of times, particularly in the earlier stages, is they do what I call throwing marketing spaghetti against the wall. And you try 50 different things, but you never give any of them enough time to really make them your own and figure out what's going to work for you. So when it comes to LinkedIn, a few of the key reasons why I believe it's so successful right now. The first one is that it's 930 million users and growing. Facebook, I think, is at 2.1 billion right now. So it's not as big as Facebook, but it has some advantages Facebook doesn't have. Its networking is free and low cost. Okay, that's the same as Facebook. But for LinkedIn, it's a professional network. People joined LinkedIn because they are business owners already. It's a business person's organization. So a different kind of person is on LinkedIn than is on necessarily on Facebook. Most of us join Facebook for the personal side first, and it's business second. Well, with LinkedIn, it's absolutely the opposite. In fact, 80% of LinkedIn members are decision makers in their business. So you're going to be talking to the people that can say yes to you. And last but not least, because the goal here, and of course, right now is when the lawnmower people decide to start mowing. So I hope that's not too loud for you. What you're trying to do is get people on a call, and people who are on LinkedIn show up for calls. I used Facebook ads to grow my business for several years, and I felt very, very successful if I got a 50% show up on people that scheduled calls with me from like a DM on Facebook or from a Facebook ad. With LinkedIn, in the last 18 months, it's been one of my top 3 marketing strategies. And I can still count 18 months later on my 2 hands, the number of people who have no-showed for me from LinkedIn. They absolutely show up because they're there for their business. So they're more committed. And of course, they show up and they're serious about talking to you about their business. So that's a little bit about why LinkedIn. As I said, I've been using LinkedIn for about 18 months as a strategy. I've been on LinkedIn since it started in 2008, but I never really used it. In fact, several years ago, I never even recommended it to my clients who are mostly service-based entrepreneurs, because it was always the place where you went for business to business. And we thought about it as almost bigger businesses to bigger business. That has all changed. And in fact, it was already changing prior to the pandemic, and the pandemic completely changed LinkedIn. There are now millions of service-based entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, coaches, small business people that are effectively using LinkedIn, and they're active on LinkedIn. So when I started using LinkedIn, I was taught by some of the best in the business as far as LinkedIn, and I took pieces and parts of these programs that I learned to create what I call the LinkedIn leverage system. And one of the things that is paramount to the LinkedIn leverage system is that it's a way for you to add targeted connections that you control on LinkedIn. These are intentional connections that you're going out and getting to create relationship with them as people first, and then as business partners and potential clients, to schedule connection calls with them, to get to know them, to continue that relationship, and turn those calls into collaborations, referral partnerships, and clients. LinkedIn is not about sales first. It is about building relationship. And when you go into it from that point of view, you will immediately just increase your success. I'm curious, for those of you that are on today, raise your hand or give me a yes in the chat if you have ever got an unsolicited sales message from Facebook or LinkedIn. Can I see a hand if you have? Yeah. And it's not very fun, is it? It doesn't make you usually kind of want to reach out to those people. Right. So we're not going to do that in what I talk about today. We're going to talk about building a system that allows you to truly get to know your connections. I call it more than a click to accept, and be able to get to know them and turn those connections into events like collaborations and referral partnerships, as well as turn them into potential new clients. Does that sound like a plan? Nods. Okay, cool. So there's 4 pillars to the LinkedIn leverage system, and we're going to cover all 4 pillars today, but I am going to zero in a little bit on the 3rd pillar that I'll tell you about. The first pillar is your profile, and it all starts there. That's how most people get to know you on LinkedIn. We're going to briefly touch on that, but I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a gift that's going to help you on your profile. So we're not going to go too deep into profile today. Posting strategy is also critical to LinkedIn for your credibility and visibility. We're going to talk today about what that looks like on LinkedIn, how it's different than Facebook, and I'm going to give you 3 types of posts for you to start with if you don't already have a posting strategy. Then we're going to talk about connections and conversations. This is about building those intentional relationships that are going to allow you to turn them into the collaborations, the referral partnerships, and the clients. And finally, I'm going to share with you my secret weapon. And you have to wait till the end to find out what that is. But this one change that I made to my LinkedIn strategy tripled the number of calls that I was actually getting on my calendar. So it's a big one, and it's obviously worth a lot. So that's where we're going. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. It's a great quote by Walt Disney. So we're going to dive into that now. Any questions before I kind of get into the first pillar? Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with your profile. So by the way, I'm going to go back and forth between slides and actually being in LinkedIn because I want you to see kind of how it actually looks when you're in LinkedIn. So on your profile is your front door. It's where people first get to know you on LinkedIn. So it's really important. Having said that, your LinkedIn profile has all of this stuff that you can put in it. And the reality is that I say 80%, that's my number, that's no statistic or market research study that I've done. About 80% of the impact on your profile is in 3 focus areas. And that is your profile picture, your banner image, which is that picture, if you will, at the top of your profile, and your headline. And so what I want to do now is go into LinkedIn and explore that just a little bit, show you what I'm talking about for each of those 3 things. That be okay? Okay. So let me go into LinkedIn and share my screen again. Okay, can you see my profile now? Okay, cool. Okay, so 3 top areas. Your profile picture. 3 things about your profile picture. Face forward, smiling, white background. Okay, that's your picture. Face forward, smiling, white or gray or lighter background. You want to avoid cluttered backgrounds. You want to avoid dark backgrounds. The reason for that is that when you put names in the search up here, they're really hard to see. And then the 4th extra juice is adding this color band around your profile picture. What that does is make you stand out. If I put, I think you can do this, I think. Okay, if I put Jessica in here and you look at these profile pictures, look at Jessica Winder, who has white or light background, face forward, and she has this band around her picture. See how in this search, just this list of people that comes up, how she stands out a little bit? That one simple thing that you can do makes a difference. And then also notice the difference between, forgive me, Jessica Lynn, where she's got this cluttered dark background and she kind of just fades. You can't see her picture at all. So those are the 3 things I want you to remember about your profile picture. And I'm going to give you a tool to help you with that. Now, the banner, what I'm going to say about the banner is keep it simple. You can include another picture of yourself if you want, or something that represents your business. You can include up here, you can use something like I have a little link to my connectwithsherri.com. You can put a barcode up here. I have a client that does that. She uses this. I struggle with the barcode sometimes it being readable, so you got to make sure you get it big enough, but that's a good way to use a QR code. And then the 3rd piece is this middle section, which is where you want to explain how you make a difference with your clients. So remember that if you take nothing away from today, even if you remember that your LinkedIn profile is not about you, it's about how you benefit those that you want to work with. So everything you put on your LinkedIn profile needs to be from the point of view of your ideal client. So here I ask a question: isn't it time to finally have the freedom and flexibility to live your bucket list now and take your business with you? Okay. So it can be a question, it can be a statement, but it should be benefit oriented. And I know you talk about that with your branding work with Malika. The third piece is your headline. And your headline is this space underneath your name. And the important thing here is that you always start with a benefit statement. You always want to start with, what difference do you make when you work with your clients? So I talk about attracting high quality leads and turning them into high paying clients. Then I use egoic labels, or what you call yourself, results coach, trainer, international speaker, because those are things that people search for. This headline here is one of the most important areas of your LinkedIn profile for LinkedIn's internal SEO, for what shows up when someone does a search for your name. Okay. There are other areas of your profile that I'm going to show you one of them here in a little bit. But basically, if all you did was to optimize those three elements, your profile picture, your banner, and your headline, you are going to be 80% of the way there as far as your profile. So what questions are coming up about profile?
So how do you put the blue trim on the photo?
Great. You are a great question. Okay. Whoops. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to help you do that. So here's a free gift alert. You should have already gotten a link in the email that that Malika sent out about this message today. And then I put the link here, and you can also scan the barcode if you want to here on the screen. But you're going to get in there not only a tip report that talks about the top 10 tips to optimize your profile, but you're going to get a PowerPoint template and a step-by-step video instructions to help you create that band around your profile picture. Now, one thing in the video, it does show this, but I'm going to say it. Make sure that you download from Google Drive, which is where the template is. Download it to your computer and your PowerPoint presentation, your PowerPoint program, I should say, because otherwise you won't be able to be able to open it if you do it that way. And I don't think we're going to have time today to do feedback, but I would definitely at the end, if we have time, I would be happy to give feedback. Okay.
Any other questions on profile, guys? Go ahead, Lori.
So the headline can be tricky too, right? Like, because I know that that's prime real estate. And when you respond to a message, that headline shows up and it captures who you are. So really narrowing down that.
Yes.
Do you have any suggestions?
Well, probably build on the work that you're doing with Malika would be one, because basically that's where your brand comes through. That is where you want to, if you do, I don't know whether you do like a brand promise or a what do you do statement. I call them a what do you do statement. Start with those. What are the things that if you could only tell somebody one big nugget that they're going to get out of working with you, what would it be? And play with those words.
Yeah, that's your promise statement or your brand statement. We've done work on that, but you're in luck, Lori. That's like the first thing we're going to be talking about in a couple of weeks, is like the value, being very clear on the value that you offer. Not all the features, not all the other stuff. There are other places for that, but that power statement, which clearly communicates your value, which is very tricky for many of us.
Yeah, it is. And, and again, I'm just going to mention that, know that you can change it too. And that's the beauty of being online, right? Is that we can continue to evolve it and see what really is I call it leaning in. What is having people really lean in when you present yourself to people? My live your bucket list now and take your business with you. That was the culmination of a lot of work of getting feedback from people and seeing what made people literally lean in. It's like, oh, I want that. That's what you're going for.
And yours, Lori, might be around that idea of like helping exhausted executives and entrepreneurs restructure their life so that they can get more joy and time back.
Yeah. Yep. And again, it's about the outcome that you help them create, not about you. People that put their titles in their headline, I think are missing just such a huge opportunity unless they know that that's what people exactly search for. You're not getting any value from that, whereas other than SEO.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to go to the second pillar of which creates your foundation. So you've got your profile done. Now we're going to talk about posting. Posting on LinkedIn is critical to visibility and credibility. But here's the good news. Again, show of hands, who loves social media? Do you have any social media lovers? We've got a couple that seem like they're kind of saying, well, yeah, kind of. Okay. That's what I think I see with a lot of people. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a love-hate relationship. Well, here's the good news with LinkedIn. You only need to post 3 days a week. You don't need to be posting as often as Facebook. And in fact, you will get dinged by LinkedIn if you're posting multiple times a day. They will actually throttle back the amount of people that they put you in front of. So 3 days a week. Typically, I like to say you need, if you're getting started, you need one minimum of one original content post to get started. I'll tell you what that means in a minute. If you can, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the biggest consumption days. And if you can, morning is the best time to post. Now, the good news with LinkedIn, just like with Facebook, is there is a scheduling tool where you can schedule in advance. So you can schedule out your posts a week, a month, whatever you want to at a time, to make it easy for you. So you don't go right down that rabbit hole every time that you get onto LinkedIn. Now, there's 3 post types that I talk about I use this mostly for people that have not developed a strategy for social media posting. So if you already have a strategy for social media posting on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, it can be tailored to LinkedIn and probably work just fine. And you don't necessarily need what I'm going to share with you right now, although you might get something to add value, if you will. If you're new to posting on social media, what I recommend to keep it simple is that you start with 1 video post a week. And that is simply a short video. It can be 1 minute, and keep it really tight, no more than 2 to 3 minutes. I do my 2 on Tuesday every week. That's a short video tip, a productivity tip or a strategy tip or whatever it might be. And there's consistency there. So it gives you a theme to kind of work around. The second one is what I call a story lesson action post. This is where you give people a bit of a story. It can be about you, about your clients, about history, about current events that leads into a lesson you want to learn around the area with which you work with people. And then, of course, it has an action. Everything should have a call to action. I'm going to show you an example of each of these in just a minute. And then the third one is third-party content. Now, a lot of people say, why are you doing third-party content? Honestly, it's just a way to get started. You can go out there and get articles on anything in your industry and use a third party to give you credibility by showing that you are up to date on current events and that you're sharing valuable content, even if it comes from somebody other than yourself. And when you're getting started, sometimes people are more confident doing that than they are about writing their own content. And the reality is it's preferable to at least do that than it is to not post at all. So I'm going to go back into LinkedIn again, and I want to give you a quick example of these 3 posts. So, and I'm also going to show you another section of your LinkedIn profile that's one of my favorites, and that is the featured section. It's an optional part of your profile, and you get to it by going up here when you're editing. You can click on Add Profile Section, and in this core section here, I already have it, but if I didn't, it would say Add Featured, and that's where you can actually add this section. Okay, so in the featured section, I just put 3 here to show you. So I mentioned my 2 on Tuesday. So this is a video post where I talk a little bit about what I'm talking about, and then it's an embedded post into LinkedIn. This one is 2 minutes and 54 seconds. That's about the longer end of what I would recommend that you shoot for. Okay, the second one is what I call the story lesson action post. This is a post that I did. I was in Charleston, I Live Your Bucket List Now. I was showing people my desk in Charleston that was right on the ocean. and talking about how that allows me to be more productive. So that's kind of the story. And then I ask the question, what's on your bucket list? So that's the action. So the story, I'm in here in Charleston, the lesson, I can be more productive because that's how I work and I travel. And then the action, what's on your bucket list? Okay, so they're simple posts. They don't have to be long but they're sharing a story about what you're doing, a lesson that you want to impart, and then asking for an action. And then a third party post is simply a post where you are sharing a resource. This happens to be Entrepreneur Magazine. And it's an article about content being meaningless without context. Okay. So I make a comment. So I'm actually adding boosting my credibility by talking about the article, but then the link here is about to the article itself. So there's an example of 3 posts. Yeah, Malika.
Okay, so 2 questions. The first, I noticed you didn't tag the person who wrote the article. Why not?
Good question. I could have.
Okay. I just didn't think that, I thought maybe that was a strategy, but you probably.
It isn't actually, and I think it could be a good idea to tag them, because they could be well enough known that it's a way to expand your reach potentially.
Right.
Yes, I think that's a good point.
And then the second question I have is, when it comes to video, is there a preference for format in terms of horizontal versus vertical? Would I be able to take some of my reels and repurpose it into LinkedIn?
Yeah, great question. I don't know of any research that has been done on the how well they're accepted, if you will, by viewers in vertical versus horizontal. Obviously, if you do the vertical, it's just going to show up in the middle of the screen. So I would test it. I doubt too much that it makes a huge difference. And honestly, what I tell my clients is I would rather have you do that and repurpose reels than not do anything at all.
Right. Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Lori, that's good news for you, Lori. You have a lot of content.
Yeah, I do know that the LinkedIn user is primarily a desktop user. Is that correct,
yes,
Sherri?
That is true. They're definitely using it more on desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jalpa, so number 3 is just using outside resource. Like you would, it could be Architectural Digest, or it could be Vogue that's talking about trends. So you're actually taking the article from somewhere else, but you're sharing it to your audience, which is so nice because it just takes the pressure off for creation mode,
Exactly. And it's also something that if you have a VA, you can have a VA, do searches, tell them, I want topics on, what are fashion trends for spring, and then tie that in with your jewelry designs or something like that. So it's easy to get some outsourced help to help you make it a little easier too. Now I could spend the whole time on posting, because creating a content strategy is really important. And we'll do that again sometime. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Those 2 pieces we just talked about, your profile picture, your profile, I should say, and your posting strategy are what I call your foundation. What I want to go into now is where kind of the rubber meets the road. Your profile and your posting strategy are your minimum, if you will, on LinkedIn, but they're not likely to get you a lot of collaborations, referral partnerships, or clients. You're not being intentional yet, other than with the content that you use both on your profile and your posting strategy. Where the rubber starts to meet the road is in getting the right connections on LinkedIn that you can create the conversations with to turn them into the collaborations, the referral partnerships, and the clients. So typically when we talk about connections, people will ask me 4 questions. Who should I target? What should I send them? When should I send it? And how should I send it? How do I know, what to send? How do I get to what to send? So I'm going to answer those questions in reverse order. So let's start with how to send. Well, the reality is you can send them from organic searches that you do, which are basically, you're not using any kind of a sales navigator or premium or anything like that. Or you can use automation to leverage your time. And what I recommend is that you always start with organic. It's just like with most things. I want people to start with the lowest cost way to get the result first, prove to themselves that this is a strategy that I really want to rely on. And then you can start investing in some automation strategies. Sales Navigator, for instance, is a great tool, but it's $100 a month. So it's not a small investment in the scheme of things. You want to make sure LinkedIn's a strategy you're really going to leverage before you invest at that level. Now, when should you send? Good news here, don't sweat it. Bottom line is the right connections are going to find your request. I get people that accept my LinkedIn connections months after I've sent them one. So don't worry too much about when you send the messages, okay? What should you send them? Okay, well, here's where it gets really, really easy. You want to create a short template of what you're going to typically send as your connection request. And when you do that, you want to personalize it. You always want to say, you know, hi, Christina, at the beginning of that connection rate request. Always use the note where it says add a personal note. Always send a personal note when you send out a connection request. And then you want to keep it really short and sweet. So my connection request start with something like, hi, Christina, I came across your profile on LinkedIn, and as fellow coaches, I don't know if you're a coach, as fellow coaches, I thought we should connect. Talk soon, Sherri. So it's really short and sweet. You're not selling unless you have some kind of a personal connection with them that you want to leverage. You can use that but unless that's there, you want to keep it very short and sweet. The only purpose of a connection request is to get them to hit accept. Okay. And then who should you send it to? This is where kind of the art comes in. So on LinkedIn, you have the ability to do some limited searches from demographics, more searches from their work profile and their LinkedIn activity. And so what that looks like is in terms of demographics and work profile, we're talking about searches now on LinkedIn to get your connection requests. You can search on location and industry, current past companies. We're going to look at this in LinkedIn on the demographics and work side. On the LinkedIn activity side, with no premium or sales navigator, you can look at groups they belong to and who they're connected to and follow. And you can use profile keywords to help you in those searches. So this is where you have to be willing to play a little bit and test out your approach. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually pause here and go back into LinkedIn. Is anybody doing searches right now on LinkedIn? Do you search for people to connect with?
I've done searches because I have clients who are looking for web designers, copywriters. So I've done
done searches looking for them. Okay, cool. So when you do searches on LinkedIn, there are a few places that you can find people to connect with. Now, one of the things that I have to talk about, and it's the thing I don't like talking about, to be honest, is LinkedIn is a business. They're in business to make money. And unfortunately, I'm seeing an uptick in LinkedIn cutting people off of doing free searches very quickly. And there seems to be no rhyme or reason for it, I have to be honest, where I had a client that had never bought premium, never bought Sales Navigator. She did one search that happened to return 1.2 million people, which is a little bit broader than I would like it to be. And they cut her off on searches for the month. So she literally could not do any more searches for the month. So the one thing I want you to do is I want you to be very intentional about the searches you do if you're not paying for premium or Sales Navigator, and keep the searches as narrow as possible when you're starting out. So one of the tricks to be able to do that is when you go to the home, okay, it's not going to do it here. Okay, I'm going to go to, let's see. When you go to your profile page, I'll do it this way. One of the tricks, come on. The system is slow for some reason. Okay, when you go to your profile page, maybe, there we go. One of the tricks to get started, so you get around some of this search stuff with LinkedIn, is on the right-hand side, you're always going to get this people also viewed section, which are people that LinkedIn is saying, people that looked at your profile also looked at these people's profile. So there's probably some kind of a connection there. So that's a good place to look. Like Sarah's a 7-figure business coach for high-performing coaches. Okay, well, she could be a great collaboration partner. So she may be someone that I want to look at. Krista Martin is another coach. So you can see, of course, because I'm a coach, I'm getting a lot of other coaches. So the first thing that you do when you go into your LinkedIn is look at these people also viewed, and also people you may know. These are people that are somewhere related in your industry. So I'm not sure how a student at a college is somebody I may know, but they have something in common with me. Best-selling author, entrepreneur. So there's a connection there. So you can go through these. So typically you're going to get, I think it's about 10 or something like that, people here. And usually you can find 3 or 4 people that might make sense there. And those are not going to count against any LinkedIn search parameters. So that's one way to get targeted connections. The second way is to use your own networking connections. So who goes to networking events, virtual or live? Yeah, pretty much everybody in our industry does. So when you go, you meet people. Well, when you come back, you want to follow up with them. One of the ways to follow up with them is to go on LinkedIn, look them up, and invite them to connect. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the networking event today. I had a lot of fun meeting you. Thought we should connect here. Christina. Okay, again, short and sweet message to get them to connect. Okay, so there's those 2 ways. The third way that you can get some ability to connect with people is to go into your network and go to your connections and leverage the audiences of people that are in your connection list. So you can go into someone, and I probably should have pre-done this. Sorry about that. I didn't take the check. Let's see. I think Lorna, I'm going to check her. Okay. So when you click on one of your connections, let it go. See right here where it says, okay, now where it says 6924 followers, 500 plus connections. Unfortunately, this is not blue like it is here. I can click on this, it's not clickable. So what that says is Lorna has locked out the ability for me to see her connections. So I need to find somebody else. So I'm going to go back and find somebody. Let's see. I don't know about Tina. Let's try Tina. Tina has 2. I apologize, guys. This was something I usually check before I do this. What we're looking for is someone that has given permission for you to see their connections. And here we go. So see how the 173 connections here is in blue? I can click on Zoa's connections and literally go down this list and find people. If I know that Zoa's target is complementary to mine, or it could even be a direct competitor if you wanted to do that, then I can go in and I can find people that are similar to my client that are also Zoa's first degree connections and invite them to connect. Okay, so that's the third one. So those are 3 tips on getting connections that are targeted without you ever having to try to get around the LinkedIn search parameters. Okay. And then the 4th one, of course, is to use the search bar. And up here, you would put in something that is I usually start with industry. So I did one recently here on photographers. So you put in photographers. Well, if I put in photographer, and then it'll come up as people here in a minute, because I want to look at individuals, then that's going to give me 1,810,000 results. I have Sales Navigator, so it doesn't make any difference for me, but I'm not going to contact that many people. So what I want to do is I want to go into filters, and I want to look at only second and third degree connections. Let's just do second degree connections right now. So those are people that are connected with my first degree connections. So they're, the 7 degrees of separation, Kevin Bacon thing. This is their 1 degree of separation with me. Okay. And then you can go in and you can target, let's say, the United States, and they're self-employed. I only want photographers that are service-based business owners. And I want photography as their profession. And here's where I mentioned keywords. You can actually put in a title if a title is important in your industry, like if you're only working with CEOs, you could put CEO in here. And then you hit show results. Your goal is to get this group down. I only got 6 results here. That would be a very targeted search, right? 6 results. But your goal is to get it down to maybe 1,000 people or less when you're first starting to do this. Let's see, also the question in the chat. A little lost in our parameters would be for a connection. A Sales Navigator is, I have to answer that question first. Sales Navigator is LinkedIn search system where you have to pay for it, but it allows you, I think it's 43 different parameters. Instead of just these ones that are up here, you can search on number of people and their employees. You can search on dollar revenue for the business. You can search on whether they've been active on LinkedIn or not. That's a really important one in Sales Navigator. So it's a much more robust sales tool. And it also allows you to create lead lists and be able to track a lot easier your conversations in LinkedIn. And then your parameters for a connection, basically you want to think about who is your ideal client. And if you were going to look for that ideal client on LinkedIn, what would be the kind of the overall thing that they would typically call themselves? Like, you know, in this case, I said photographer. So if your is your ideal client in business, typically, is it a woman in business?
She's an older woman who, when I say older woman, my age on to like maybe 40 to 50. She's not always a corporate woman, but she's someone who's financially independent, sometimes a business owner, and sometimes corporate.
So on LinkedIn, your target is a little harder to get to, just gonna be honest with you. You would probably have to say, you know what, on LinkedIn, I'm gonna go for collaborations, could be one way for you to go. And to look at, you know, fashion designers or makeup people, or think about people that would be in industries that are complementary to you, so that you could partner with them to share audiences. That would be one way for you to use LinkedIn. You could use LinkedIn by looking for like entrepreneurs with $1 million businesses or something like that. So you could do that. You could do it that way too, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you. I'm always, yeah, interior designer, stylist. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So that would be.
Jalpa, it's less B2B. Like for us, it's more B2B. Like you don't have those categories. Like Lori would have executives in corporate. I could have, you know, interior designers, photographers, more service-based. Christina, a question I'm going to ask for Christina is because she's going to target, she wants to target corporate. So now we're talking about people, but how do you target corporate?
Well, you target them by company, for instance. So in the filters over here, you can go down here and they have current company. So I clicked on self-employed. If you actually have if you work with people within big companies, you could target Apple or something like that. And you're going to get some really small searches to start with, but it could be companies that you're really interested in. If you have Sales Navigator, you can get a broader search because you can look at it by companies with, you know, 100 to 500 employees or whatever.
Or it could be like human resources, who are the people that would hire you, because Christina is a speaker. She has a women's empowerment company. So it could be, you could put company names and then you can look for maybe human resources in order to get the right pitch.
Yeah, you'd probably want to put like an industry human resources. You could put industry human resources in there, would probably be where I'd put that.
And you could
or you could put,
Lori.
I was gonna say, you could start the search with human resources director, maybe. Actually start the search there and then narrow down from there. This is one where you have to play with it a little bit to find your sweet spot, because there's 100 different ways that you can go at it, and you can save lists too. I didn't mention that. So this list that I just did of these 6 people, I can go up here to the browser bar, highlight that and do a copy of that, put it in a Word document, and I can go back to that search over and over again. So once you find a search, it's like, oh, this is good a list of people, save it in a Word document so you can go back to it later. Okay. Awesome. So that was a very kind of quick dive into searches, but it's one of the places that people struggle with, I think, the most. So I wanted to make sure and spend a little bit more time on that today. The next thing I want to talk about is, okay, now we've talked about how you do your searches and where you find the leads. Whoops, sorry guys. Are you still seeing my slide deck?
Yes.
Excuse me. So we talked about this. Now I want to talk about how do we start conversations. So now that they've accepted your connection request, now the real fun begins, because now we get to talk to them. So here's some tips on starting a conversation. Biggest tip, don't sell, all caps, yes, I am yelling at you. You do not want to be one of those people that accepts it, that has a connection request accepted, and you send them the first message and say, oh, hi, I'm, Sally Smith. Do you want to come to my retreat next week? That's not what we want to do here. What we want to do is we want to get curious about that person and get to know them. This is about starting to build that relationship. You want to ask leading questions that will get to know them, but also have an intentional path that you're leading them down. And then invite them to a call when it feels right. And you will be all over the board on how this happens. I had a gal that I'd connected with. She's does corporate, maybe similar to Lori. I think you said it does corporate. She does trainings within corporations. I reached out to her. She accepted my connection request. She basically said, happy to connect or something like that. I sent it back and said, yeah, great to get to know you. One of my favorite kind of starters is tell me who's your ideal client, helps me know who a great referral is. Okay, write that one down. Tell me about your ideal client, helps me know who a great referral for you is. Okay, that is about them, not about you. So you are entering the relationship, giving, not asking. Okay. And she responded back with, I can't even remember what, but said, hey, I'd love to hop on a call. We hopped on a call and did a connection call, which is not a sales call. It's a connection call to get to know you. And at the end of the call, she said, I want to work with you. How do we make that happen? I invited her to a follow-up call and she said, well, can't we just do it right now? Well, I happen to have the time and she did. So we ended up doing the call and she became a 12K client for me. So from one message on LinkedIn to a 12K client 10 days later. You will have those happen. It doesn't happen every day, but you will have those happen. Then there will be other people that you have to develop the relationship a little bit more. And that's where you're going to want to have some thought starter questions to ask, to get the conversation going. I ask people, I tell them about my bucket list being about traveling and ask them what their bucket list is. I tell them about an interview series that I'm doing and ask them if that sounds interesting. I have one client that uses the question, what did she do? She was she was a child star, like a one-time child star. And she tells them about that and says, what's something about you that I won't find on your LinkedIn profile? So make it about you, make it fit with you, but come up and have those templates for those questions that you can ask if they're not responding to you, right? Because you want to start the conversation and trust your intuition. Your goal, remember, is to get them on a call. Okay. And like I said, we can go really deep on this. So I feel like I'm kind of rushing a little bit now, but I do want to share with you the last secret. So who wants to know what the last secret to success is? This is the one that tripled my connection calls. I went from 1 to 2 a week to 5 to 7, literally in a matter of days. Ta-da! Email your LinkedIn connections. Okay, now that sounds counterintuitive, right? Why would I email my LinkedIn connections? Well, the reality is that personal email gets opened. And some people are better on social media. Some people are better from email. But when you send a personal email, you're going to get 60 to 70% open rates when you send that email directly from your Gmail or your Outlook account. It doesn't come across as salesy because it's in your personal email. The other thing is, once you get them from LinkedIn into an email list, and I'm not putting these people in for me active campaign. These are not people that have agreed, in my opinion, to go into my community. I don't send them promotion emails. I send it from Outlook. You own that connection now. LinkedIn can close their doors tomorrow and you still have that contact. So it's just like with Facebook. I tell my clients, Get them off of Facebook and into your email list. That needs to be your #1 goal for social media. Bottom line, when I did this, I got 2 to 3 times more calls because people had seen me on LinkedIn. We may have had messages a couple times back and forth on LinkedIn, but then they get my email series, which is a really straightforward series. I start it 10 to 14 days after I make the initial connection with them. I send it, as I said, from from Gmail or Outlook or whatever your business email is. Better to send it from your business email address. And I send them 4 emails over 2 to 3 weeks that are very short and simple. They're all about, the first 2 are just about kind of creating connection. And then I invite them directly to a call. By that point, I've created enough of a relationship that they kind of know whether they want to talk to me or not. And then they schedule a call with me and we take it from there.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Are you using the email that's on LinkedIn, or are you creating a dialogue with them in LinkedIn Messenger and getting an email from them?
No. Well, let me answer your question correctly. I am sending them a personal email from the email that they have in their LinkedIn profile. So if I go into, okay, I'm gonna use you, Malika. So if I go into Malika's profile, she's a first degree connection of mine. If I click on contact info, then she is, I hope, going to have her email address in here. So see, she's got her email address, her phone number. So because she's given me permission as a first degree contact, I can go in and copy paste this email into my own system and then send her an email from my personal email.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. She's given me permission. And this is my feeling on, canned spam and all that kind of good stuff in terms of even forget the legalities, just from being a good human being. I don't feel like Malika gave me permission to send her promotion emails or even my 2 on Tuesdays for that matter. Yeah. So I do it separately.
I've been really frozen since leaving my corporate job with engaging in LinkedIn. It's a lot of fear. It's a lot of people judging me. It's a bunch of head trash. So yeah. Like, it's some of these little, very tiny logistics that have been holding me back.
So well, I'm not going to go there. We could go with, I want to go right into getting into that, but yeah, I understand that. And it's one of the biggest challenges transitioning from corporate to being an entrepreneur. I was in corporate myself for 13 years before I transitioned to entrepreneurship a long time ago. And the biggest transition is most of us in corporate, we're not selling ourselves, right? We're selling a product or a business service or whatever. Now we're selling ourselves. And that's a big transition. So I totally get that. Yeah. And I know, with Malika's help, and I'm certainly there to support you as well. That imposter syndrome. Yep. Yeah, that's absolutely. It's one of those things. It's part of the journey of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Lori, you're already doing the work all over Instagram and all these other platforms. You just need to get over the hump. It's more you than that. They'll be happy to see it. They'll be happy to learn about it.
Exactly.
That hump.
Exactly. And the first time that you get a collaboration or somebody that says, oh my gosh, I'm glad, I'm so excited for you, it's going to get easier every time.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know we're getting close to our time here, so I just want to finish up here. So that's the 4 pillars of the LinkedIn leverage system: your profile, your posting strategy, creating intentional relationships through connections and conversations, and finally that secret weapon being emailing your connections. So I just want to kind of show in hands. Can you see it? Can you see the power of LinkedIn? That ability to grow your connections intentionally, to create those collaborations, get referrals, as well as to find targeted clients. I have gotten amazing collaborations through LinkedIn. Malika is a perfect example. I got a speaking gig in Paris, France on International Women's Day from somebody I met on LinkedIn. I've had podcast guest hosts. I've spoken to lots of different membership communities, that kind of thing. It's amazing, the ability for collaboration. And those turn into new client opportunities. So they build your list, and of course, getting direct clients through the conversations that you're going to have. So just a reminder, I do have the free gifts for you. You're going to get that video that shows you how to add that circle around your PowerPoint template, as well as the PowerPoint template itself, the Canva templates to create a banner in a very simple way, as well as the top 10 tips to optimize your profile. You can get that when you from Malika's email, from this link here, or scan the barcode. And one of the things that you will get in there is the opportunity to schedule a LinkedIn profile audit. So we didn't have time today to give feedback on any profiles, but I would be more than happy to hop on a call with you. We'll take a look at your profile, and we can take it to the next level, because I know they're already good based on the branding work that you're doing with Malika. Okay, any questions? Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. There's so much information here. I feel like you really sort of broke down LinkedIn about the potential it has for all of us, and really given us some like tools that we could use. I think that the search being strategic and intentional was sort of an eye opener for me. I'm not using it at all in that capacity. And I think, you know, Christina and Lori, your clients are on LinkedIn. And so, you know, mine are, but mine are also on Instagram. So like I have to kind of balance both.
Yep.
And Jalpa, maybe yours are more on Instagram, but the partners that have the share.
It just gave me this great idea as you were talking, that I've always wanted to get more media press exposure. And I think that might be something I could tap in.
Absolutely. That would be a great way to use it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. It's all wonderful.
So it was super helpful, Sherri. Thank you so much. I think we have like
Awesome.
really actionable tools to take.
Good.
And I'm gonna actually, with the training that I'm doing for brand promise and brand value, we'll also maybe pull some of those templates so that we can actually take that statement, put it in the LinkedIn banner, and then you guys kind of combining a real tactical strategy and get it done. So that's gonna be
that's awesome. That is awesome. Very cool.
Sherri, one thing that I learned recently about LinkedIn that blew my mind, and maybe these ladies need to know it too, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. The median average income on Instagram and Facebook is like 23,000, but on LinkedIn it's 135,000. Is that right?
Yep. I have not heard that specific statistics, but I know that it is markedly higher than Facebook. And it's because it's business people.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're there for business. That's the biggest distinction.
And Jalpa, if you think about it, those ladies want diamonds. They want free diamonds.
Right. That's right. They want the bling. Absolutely.
Well, my ideal client lives there, but I just don't know how to approach them without being salesy. I think that's going to be the challenge for me.
I think you can. I think if you search other like luxury jewelers on LinkedIn, I think they're there. And if you see what they're doing, like you could do some of that.
Yeah. Search and redeploy. Look at what your competitors are doing and then make it your own.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sherri, so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for being here.